It's your boy Ancient Albatross here again with the usual suspects from the Cypher Unlimited crew. We have Spigs18 or Anthony. We have AD or Alpha Dean. And Dean, why are we here today?
Well, today we have David S. Deer from the Ninth World Journal. And, this podcast is pretty awesome. It follows the travels of January, a lost nano who jaunts uncontrollably. Now we're in the second season, but, I'm not going to take all the fun out of it. David, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and let's get into the fun.
All right. Well, like you said, actually, I'm known as Practicing Human over on Cypher Unlimited, and do a little bit of lurking there. But the Ninth World Journal is the podcast I do. It's an audio drama format of Numenera, so kind of sets it in a whole kind of a tale-telling format, not actually an actual play like a lot of the other great ones out there.
That's awesome. First off, David, welcome. It's been a while. We've chatted on the CU multiple times, so we're happy to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I like you guys' the thing you do, the video here.
Oh, thanks.
We appreciate that,
yeah. I mean, you touched on it a little bit. A Ninth World Journal, your podcast. What exactly is it, and what's your role on the show?
It's an audio drama, so it's an actual scripted version of the show where it just tells a story in a storytelling format. I just happen to tell the story in the Ninth World, in the Numenera background. It's based on a character who exactly what it says. He jaunts uncontrollably. He just kind of goes to different places in the Ninth World, has no say or control over where he goes or what he does.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I do like the format and that concept is awesome.
Oh, thank you. It
is.
I'm going to admit that I was a little bit inspired by The Signal, the one that Scott C. Bourgeois did. He had out, I think it was just when Numenera first came out. He was doing that, and he was doing those little kind of 8-10 minute episodes. And I liked that format, and I wanted to kind of piggyback off that, but do something a lot different than what he was doing. I didn't want to do the same thing, but that's definitely was the inspiration for this.
Well, it's yours, and it's good stuff.
But
oh, thank you.
And for our listeners who may not know, what's your role there with producing this?
I write the episodes, and then I produce them, and I also am the main character in the series. So I do the voice of Jean Yue, and it's told from Jean Yue's point of view. So it's a first person telling. He's the one that's actually telling what's happening to him, what's going on in the world. And recently I brought on another member to actually do more of the sound effects and stuff. He's the audio engineer. So right now it's the two of us doing that. I do the majority of it. He kind of puts all the effects on, sends it back to me, and then I produce it, write it, act in it. Almost a one-man show.
Awesome.
That's pretty,
so when stuff goes bad, we know who to blame.
That's right.
Oh boy!
I uncovered my secret.
But yeah, we kind of touched on part of what I'm gonna ask already. But what made you decide to do an audio drama show? And you kind of already mentioned the what was your inspiration for like doing or the story, but what was your inspiration for actually starting the podcast itself?
I was really inspired by The Signal, and I wanted to kind of tell a story in a different way, and I liked the idea of jaunting because then we could feature different areas of the Ninth World. There's so many crazy and fascinating places throughout the Ninth World that it seemed like a really good opportunity to explore all those wildly different places. And I've done a couple of kind of talk format podcasts in the past, but I wanted to actually try an audio drama, having some background in theater and voiceover work and doing audiobooks. I thought it would be fun to actually take this and do it in an audio format and using this setting of my all-time favorite RPG, Numenera, to really kind of create that fantastically wild, imaginative world that it encompasses.
Yeah, but
Nice.
quick follow up question to your response there. You mentioned theater. What exactly is your theater background, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh no, not at all. I spent 20, about almost 25 to 30 years doing theater. So it was a kind of a mix of community theater and professional theater. And that segued into a lot of staged readings and kind of doing where you go on stage and you actually don't fully produce it. You read the scripts out loud, sometimes to workshop it, or sometimes just that's the way the authors get to hear, the playwrights get to hear their material. And then that I kind of left the stage and segued more into doing audiobook narration. And I've got just over 30 books up on audible.com
Oh
that I've
wow.
narrated. So I kind of wanted to take a little bit of a bend in that. That's the biggest realm of my theater experience, and dipping into other audio dramas now as well. Serving as guests on other audio dramas that are out there.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
That is, well, you kind of answered the first portion of my question because I was going to ask you why did you choose Numenera as your backdrop, but you just told us that's your favorite game setting of all time. So, but so that was probably your first choice for a setting as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there was no other choice for it. I wanted to be able to kind of use my voice to kind of really express a lot of the wonder that's in that, a lot of the weirdness that's in that. The first time I read the book of Numenera, all the stories and the illustrations really got my imagination on fire. And I really wanted to be able to tap into that and use my own imagination to really kind of create stories in that environment. Really
So
super inspiring
I
setting.
mean, it's such an
that sounds
original
great.
setting. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Dave.
I mean that's great, and because you just said all of that, so my thing is, what would you suggest if a person was thinking about maybe trying to break into voice acting or narration? What would be a good venue or a good avenue to try to go that route? Since you answered the other portion of the question.
If you want to go into voice acting, I would say start out small, lend your voice to wherever you can. Look for postings or ads. There's so many websites you can go to, like Casting Call Club and Voice Acting Club, that are looking for people, and they'll look for unpaid actors. And it's a really good way of developing your chops and getting your experience up. I did a lot of unpaid work for many years just to really kind of build up the muscles and build up the technique to doing voice acting. And eventually you get to a point where you can actually start doing it and auditioning for parts that are paid and being able to kind of take on work that you can actually make a little bit of money at.
Nice.
That's awesome. I was gonna say that Numenera is such a great sandbox, so I could see why it would be a perfect choice for audio drama. And second, I love your show because it reminds me so much of the '50s radio. A family would sit there and listen to the radio to the War of the Worlds, and it gives me that feel. So I wind up listening to the whole first season on my train ride to work, and it was
Cool.
excellent show.
And you just made me think about it, and I didn't even put it together. But when I was a kid, back here, I'm the youngest out of 7 in my family. So, but all my brothers and sisters are like way older than me, and that was something I used to do. We used to have a station up here that would, do audio shows. They did Star Wars, and I got to listen to like the old Shadow, and I got to listen to the Whisperer. I mean, all these old radio shows. So, that was pretty inspirational when it came to gaming in general.
Mm-hmm.
Because it, like you said, you makes your imagination just on fire. And Dave, you do have a great voice for it, so it works.
Thank you.
You're engaging.
Thank you.
Where did the character January come from, and was he a PC you played at one time?
I never played that character. No.
It's time.
He was. I actually, to come up with the name, I looked up. What did I look up? I looked up I wanted to find out what the Latin was for teleporting, so I just put in teleportation, and it said something like January. I can't remember. Oh, January. It translated to magic door.
Oh,
And it was January something. I wish I could remember the second word, but I thought, well, I like that. I like that. So I just kind of took it. And it sounds very Ninth Worldy because, a lot of those names are really, it's not like Bob and Jim and guys like that. So I wanted to have a name that sounded really kind of unique and of that world.
Oh, so he wasn't a character that you played.
It wasn't a character I played. No, I don't have any stats for him, but I think I want to come up with the.
You definitely do.
So go ahead, craft the first tier character for January.
Oh, he's definitely not first tier.
Oh no, I mean I don't know. We could do the start of his adventure,
whatever
have you.
He's probably between second and third tier, somewhere in the middle. I would think.
Then we gotta get a live play or an actual play of him going through something, maybe with the party, maybe without a party. Who knows?
Actually, I'm talking. I don't know if I want to spill the beans on that yet, but I'm talking to one of the people that you guys know well, and have heard their stuff, and talking about bringing Jean Yue into kind of like a setting. So we'll see where that goes. I'm going to kind of leave that under my hat for the time being, but if it comes out, you guys will know it'll be in total actual play format.
That's cool. Awesome. That's cool. Awesome. And
real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but just because I'm such a nerd and you said it was January Magikai.
Thank you. That's it.
Looked it up.
January Magikai.
I do that a lot myself. I love to find names. I love using Latin. I have a setting that I'm working on called Tenebrius Imperium, so
I love the sound of that. It sounds so huge.
It just translates to dark power or shadow power, but it's,
I've definitely done similar things to name characters with Latin specifically too. I just don't recall the names at this time. I know one of them was the light. You remember in your game, Anthony, the superheroes game, I played like that light alien or whatever. His name was some Latin thing for light or something, or Hebrew or something. I forget. But either way, let's keep this going before we get even more sidetracked. So can you give our listeners some advice on starting a narrative-based podcast? And what are some pitfalls they could potentially avoid?
Okay. And a narrative-based podcast, do you mean kind of like an audio play or audio format drama?
Yeah, like basically producing an audio drama as such as yours.
One of the pitfalls you can fall behind is have as much of it created or written out in advance as you can. Otherwise, if you're kind of stalled out on trying to create a story, you can fall behind on releasing episodes, and people really like having episodes on the regular. So that's one of my biggest pieces of advice. Second thing I would say is check your equipment. A lot of people are pretty forgiving about equipment. But if it's really super echoey and people sound very far away, it's harder for people to kind of fall into the story because you want them to just be in the story and forget everything else that's going on around them. So it's a tough thing to bite off because it can get spendy. So it's not a big deal. But the first thing I would say is have your stories out there. Have at least maybe 7 episodes already created and written out and even recorded if you can, before you launch it, and that way you can kind of keep ahead and keep yourself on schedule.
That is very solid advice. Something we planned to do but never did. But
you guys have a different format, so you guys can kind of do a little bit of.
We had some plans for some things, but let's not really. Oh boy.
Dean.
Yeah, I'm laughing because somehow you keep answering basically the question I'm going to ask you.
Johnny might be a little psychic too. Maybe he has one of those.
Maybe.
Technically, he didn't answer it. He said it would be good if you did. He didn't say.
Well, I know that's what I'm saying. I still have another question on deck just in case, but. Basically, do you pre-write your seasons or do you make sure they're pre-written, for the Ninth World Journal?
I'm laughing because the advice I gave, I didn't give myself that advice. So I was sitting there going, I got to come up with the next episode, because they come out every 2 weeks. And I'm like, I got 2 weeks to write it and record it, produce it and edit it. Oh.
So do you do all the narration and writing of each episode as well?
Yes. Well, actually, I had a lot of help from Pack Rat, who's there. People on Cypher Unlimited will know him, especially from the Numenera channel there. So he did a lot of kind of bouncing off the ideas at first. We kind of structured a lot of the pieces and some of the different places that Johnny Way was going to go. And then I just shaped it out and formatted it. And that was for the first season. The second season actually is, because right now we're between seasons. The first season last episode is going to release this Saturday. And then I'm going to take a break for the summer. And I've written all but I think I have 3 more episodes to write for the second season. So all of that has been kind of put in the can and get ready to release.
So you actually wrote the entire second season then?
Yes.
You learned from your mistakes the first go.
That's exactly it. I don't want to get behind the 8 ball again. That was sweating bullets there.
Oh boy.
That's pretty cool though. I mean, well, like I said, if you ever want, need some more ideas, you can always talk to us. We have a few ideas.
I always welcome ideas for sure. Yeah.
Besides Numenera, are there any other RPGs you enjoyed? And have you considered doing a podcast or another show on a different setting or genre?
I haven't, not as of yet, because I've got so much material that I can do in Numenera that I'm kind of running with that for the while until the story kind of runs itself out. But I think it's going to be a while before I do, because there's a direction he's going to go, and there's going to be some politics that are involved in this. But because he's got an arc, because he started out as an Aeon priest, and then he was messing around, and then boom. Now he's in these places, and not all of them are really hip to Aeon priests, and he's kind of trying to tread lightly. So that's creating an interesting character arc in and of itself. So I can kind of play with Numenera for a while. If there was another genre I would go into, I don't know. I might look at something like maybe one of the White Wolves, but it's been years since I've looked at White Wolf, so.
Just this idea, springboarding off of what you're just saying now. So do you mine the books? Do you have Into the Deep and Into the Outside and so on and so forth, and the Aeon Priest book? Or so you mine the books for material and then take your inspiration like that? Yes.
There's anybody who's kind of devoured the material will see a lot of the names and the places and things. And then what I do is I'll either just kind of flush out the scenes based on stuff that I've taken from different places in the Ninth World, or there are a couple of episodes that I've just created a world that it's like maybe in one of the lands, but it's not anything that's out of any of the books.
Absolutely.
But I often will refer to the creatures and definitely to the characters that are in the book. And I guess you'd say it's relatively canon, the way I base it, with a little bit of flexibility.
I would definitely say it's canon.
Well, I was having a discussion with some of the other guys on Cypher Unlimited either today or the other day, and I was explaining to them just that Numenera is just, I love the fact that there are landmarks and things that everybody knows. Mm-hmm. But the world itself is completely unexplored. It's up to you as a storyteller. You create it, and so it's not wrong. So you can take your character right into somebody else's game, and guess what? It's still not wrong, because everybody has a steadfast. Everybody has the blight. Everybody has, the Aeon priest and everything else. But you know what? Whatever else is there, we create.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have much time to game? Do you play any games?
I do. We have a regular group that we do once a month. It's a Numenera game, and we started with you mentioned Into the Outside. That's what we started with, and it was set in the University of Doors, and there were students there, and they were going to learn how to do some dimension walking, and they kind of found a little bit of trouble on the way, and now they're based in Kai or Ki or Chi. Everybody's got a different way. But yeah, so we get together once a month because all of us kind of have a lot going on, and we play on Roll20, and we've got 2 guys in Europe, 2 guys in Canada, and me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, so we just good nice 4, 5, 6 hours of just kind of grinding it out and having a blast.
Yeah.
Are you GM?
I'm the DM. Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
And after my own heart.
But so what has been the most enjoyable thing about creating a Ninth World Journal, and what has been the most difficult?
The most enjoyable thing about creating it is, well, a couple of things. The world, just using my imagination to. It's like if you're GMing, but you're taking that and kind of scripting it into story format. It doesn't have the same kind of spontaneity that GMing does, but you get to craft this kind of world, and you got to create your own GM intrusions essentially for your character. And I beat the guy up. I beat him up so bad when I write for him. I do. It's just like his luck goes south so badly. And that's so much fun. And the other fun thing is the response that I've gotten from listeners. They've really been so gracious and so kind. And God, my heart's just full because people have really received it well and have given me just wonderful feedback. And it really inspires me to keep wanting to create.
That's awesome.
Challenges has been trying to figure out how to tell the story with just one actor doing it. So I'm examining more than one actor in the second season, but in the first season right now, you've got to kind of carry all the weight on your shoulders, as well as, all the producing, all the editing, everything that goes with that as well. That's the challenge.
I know you say gracious, but I say truthful because the stuff is actually really well done and enjoyable. So, all the praise you're getting is well deserved.
Absolutely. Means a lot to me, guys. Really.
Well, no, absolutely, Dave. I mean, you know what? There's a difference, when you deal with people and they're there for the numbers. They're there for, the ego stroke. And then there's those people who do things with a passion, and your passion comes through.
Oh,
it's good. And it's appreciated. I mean, I think that's what happens. It resonates with so many people because there are those of us like myself and Anthony and Al. We love Cypher System. Mm-hmm. We love it. I've been gaming for over 40 years, but within the last 5 years now, I've exclusively run Cypher System games.
Yeah.
I don't even have a desire to run anything else, and I love other games. It's just crazy.
Don't you lie, because you have the desire to play Torg.
Yeah.
No.
Don't you lie.
No. I said run.
Okay.
So you want to run Torg, you just want to play.
I'm surprised he hasn't asked.
The thing about it is, I'll play just about anything. And Torg is probably the only other game that I will probably, get up off my duff and run.
You know what's
Torg
funny?
is like system heavy.
The setting of Torg is very similar to Numenera in some sense. So
Numenera or The Strange.
Yeah.
But it's just something about the Cypher System, the flexibility, the freedom, it's so inspirational.
Yeah.
And then, you get to play with guys like Anthony and Al. I mean, Al is like, yeah, don't even make faces, because I've played 3 games that Al has run, and I'm gonna tell you, every one of them is memorable. Yeah.
That's what you want to do. You want to create these great memories.
That's what I said. The steampunk pirate.
I mean, I'm glad it happens, but I don't know what I'm doing.
Your Darkest Dungeon. This guy adapted a video game. He adapted a video game to Cypher, and it was freaking awesome. It played like a video game.
Wow, nice.
That's nice.
And then his predation, man's best foe. It's like, wow, great.
Okay, we all love Al, but we're interviewing David right now.
I'm just saying,
Give
David,
props to where props is due for the man.
but I'm just saying, and that's what I'm talking about. It's just a passion. I love when there's a passion for your craft. And if that's there, then you know what? That's one of those things that, I think just seeps out and other people, it's infectious and people will grab hold to it.
Well, it's funny you say that because I'm really hoping that in this, for people who listen to it, because a lot of people listen to the show that have no knowledge of Numenera or the Cypher system. And it's my hope that people get turned on to it by listening to the audio drama, because I really created it in a way where you don't have to know the game. I created a primer episode to help people out. But most people say I can keep up with it without knowing anything about the game. And I'm like, well, but check the game out. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. So I'm hoping that inspiration kind of bleeds through.
Dean, before you ask the last question, you had said something in your previous answer that made me want to ask this. Do you try to incorporate mechanics like GMIs into your narrative for your show? Like, was that something that you thought about beforehand? Hey, I want to show off, a GM intrusion style effect. Because there is a lot of stuff that I would absolutely say, oh, this is a GM intrusion.
I think about that. It happens after I write it, and I find the GM intrusions in there. It's not like I say, okay, I'm going to put a GM intrusion here. Like when we're GMing, we do that. Okay, this is going to be a great place for intrusion. I just say, this needs to happen to him, so it kind of throws him a little bit off guard. So see how he's going to deal with this. And then I look back on the script, and I'm like, that's a GM intrusion, isn't it? I tried to figure out too where he rolled ones too.
Nice.
When Johnny Way made a choice, that was a one.
Nice. So that being said, last question before we reach into the depths of your psyche and soul and begin to manipulate you in ways that you've never experienced. Last question. What do we have to look forward to from David S. Deer and the Ninth World Journal?
Well, you get to look forward to season 2 is going to take some different directions, some different approaches. We're going to see Janeway really push really hard, where he's going to have to dig deep to figure out what's happened to him and who he is based on what he's been experiencing. He's the one who's going to be dig into the depths of his soul. That's happening to him this season.
Is there expected release date for season 2?
Yes, that's I'm going to launch that I'm shooting for August. Right now it looks like that can happen.
Well, that gives me time to listen to all of season 1 now.
And I'm going to have a couple of some bonus episodes in between the 2 seasons too, just kind of offline stuff, Q&As, and some backstory stuff, and another kind of deep dive primer.
It's definitely worth listening to.
Well, definitely, that's great. Come back and visit us again.
Oh yeah, I'd love to. You guys are fantastic.
All right, so like Dean said, those were the easy questions. Now here's where we do the in-depth. We're gonna dig deep into your soul, pull out January in the whole world can see.
It's gonna be the ancient one's favorite maneuver.
It's all 9 rapid fire questions. Are you ready for this, David?
Wait, drum roll.
Player or GM?
GM all day.
Pull punches or go for the TPK?
Pull punches. I like to draw things out a little bit, to be honest.
Online or in person gaming?
Online.
Announce the difficulty or keep it secret?
My players like to get the difficulty, but I like to keep it secret. So a little bit of both, but I lean toward keeping it secret.
All right, so salty or sweet snacks at the gaming table?
Salty for me. Gotta have my nuts. Gotta have that crunch.
RP, combat, or good mix?
Good mix for me, for sure.
Good answer.
Yeah.
PDFs or physical books?
I'm the PDF guy. I gotta have it all PDF. I want to be able to click and get there real super quick. I remember the days when I had the Post-its on all the pages and stuff like that, flipping back and forth, but I'm a PDF guy.
That was physical hyperlinking.
That's right. Physical hyperlinking.
Oh boy, but pen and paper notes or digital?
Pen and paper, believe it or not. So I'm doing PDFs, but I'm all pen and paper.
Flip side.
Nice.
I like it.
Pre-written adventures or original content?
Sorry, guys, I just interrupt you. There's my little Bujo bullet journal.
Oh, yeah.
I do it GM style, yeah. There we go.
We talked about Bujos with
I like that.
with Eric. I think we mentioned it. We are talking about note styles, and I mentioned
Yeah, we're talking about notebooks and everything else.
I do a mini Bujo type thing where I number all my notes, and I make a little index about which ideas on which page and whatever.
Yeah, I love the Bujo for that. Yeah.
I write everything on napkins and then wonder where half the stuff is.
I've actually gotten the habit of using my phone for memos, but I still have all these crazy notebooks that stuff gets written out in. So the last question is pre-written or original content?
I do a mix. I like to do a mix of it. I like to kind of take the pre-writtens, and it's hard for me to stick with them because I don't want to feel like I'm railroading people, even though Monty Cook does a great job of saying, you got all these different courses to take. But I still like to springboard and then kind of shape my own adventure based on that. So definitely a mix. I know I'm cheating. It's a this or that for you guys' rapid fire, but
don't worry. A lot of people actually give that answer. They use
Trust me.
the original
we'll
content.
just say before we go, we'll just tell you, Anthony is the king of that. Because Anthony went to Gen Con and ran the Numenera game in name only.
Yeah. I read the adventure though. At least I read it.
Hey, you can say you read it.
I read it the night before I actually had to run it, but I read it.
But yeah, that concludes our rapid fire questions. Woof. Ooh, we did
We made it.
Ooh, I can't believe you survived. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, talking about Ninth World Journal.
Thank you guys for having me. You guys are fantastic.
Oh, well, we very much appreciate that compliment. And yeah, we'll be sure to include all the links to the stuff you've mentioned down below. Links to find yourself. Oh, and where can people find you on like Twitter or Facebook? Your personal stuff, one for the podcast, either or.
You can find, if you just go to ninthworldjournal.com, that's the website. It has all the episodes, and it has other things like transcripts and other notes about things. You can also find me at Twitter at the number 9th World Journal, Ninth World Journal with the number 9. I'm also on Instagram at Ninth World Journal. And for my the audiobooks I've narrated, you can find me at davidsdeer.com. Everything I've done is there, and that's a mix of a lot of stuff like fantasy and sci-fi and other different genres and humor.
Awesome, yeah. But I forget if I mentioned it, but we'll be sure to include all those links down below for all our viewers to find your stuff and find you online and whatever have you. And any last words, guys?
I mean, I just want to say, David, it was a pleasure having you, and you have an open invitation to come back on anytime.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And you guys are great to chat with. I would love to anytime.
I mean, that's what we do. We like to BS about gaming, and you're a great person to BS with. And Ninth World Journal is a pleasure to listen to, and I hope anyone that listens to this not only listens to the whole thing, I guarantee you're going to enjoy it, but, please, whatever podcast that you're on, put a review on there and, give him a positive review because he's doing great stuff.
Thank you.
And I'll second that and just say, David, come on over, hang out with us with Lise for a couple of one-shots.
All righty. It's good. You're going to make me play, but...
GM Roulette. No, GM Roulette.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
GM Roulette.
GM Roulette. Oh, I've got to watch that again. I got to watch the dynamics so I know what I'm doing.
It's very fun, very intuitive. As long as you know how to GM and as long as you know how to play, you can play GM Roulette.
Easy enough, right?
You You don't need to know either of those things. Look at us.
Yeah, exactly.
But we all know as GMs, you plan it out to the teeth and you don't use anything you plan. It always goes sideways.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on. Thank you everybody who watched. Again, be sure to like, share, subscribe our stuff. Be sure to check out A Ninth World Journal and everything that he's doing. Anthony, I saw you motion. Did you have something?
Hit the notification bell if you can.
Yeah, so you can get notified of when we send videos out. Yeah, from us at the CU, we will see you later.